Hey there, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring something truly profound, really the dawn of a new computational era. We're looking at how the very fabric of information processing is being reimagined. It's classical versus quantum computing. Maybe you're prepping for a big meeting or trying to get up to speed on this cutting-edge field, or maybe you're just, well, really curious. Either way, we've gone through a ton of research to pull out the essentials for you. Our mission, to really dissect this huge shift, understand the differences, the potential, and how it's, set to redefine what's even possible. Okay, let's get started.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is that this push towards this new frontier, it isn't just academic curiosity, not at all. It's actually a pressing need, driven by the limits we're hitting with current tech. And the solutions have these, well, profound implications for science, for industry, for society, really. Our chat today is pulling directly from the latest research that highlights these exact shifts.
Right. So, to guide us through this pretty complex landscape, we've got some key questions lined up for you today. First up, what are the fundamentals and, maybe more importantly, the limitations of classical computing that are pushing us towards something new? Then we'll get into the really mind-bending stuff. Quantum mechanics. How do principles like superposition and entanglement actually apply to computing? And what are the key differences between a classical bit and a quantum bit or qubit? We'll also look at the specific, really tough problems that quantum computers are designed for, the ones classical machines just choke on. Plus, where are we now? What's this NISQ era people talk about? And what are the big challenges in building truly fault-tolerant quantum computers? And finally, the big one. What's the ultimate promise here? What could quantum computing mean for our future? Okay, so let's start with what we know. Classical computers, we use them every day. But what are their core limitations that are now making us look elsewhere?
Well, classical computers, they're built on that binary system, bits, 0 or 1, powered by billions of tiny transistors acting like switches. And they've been incredible, right, from basic math to incredibly intricate AI algorithms. But their fundamental approach is sequential. They do one thing, then the next, then the next. And that sequential processing creates real bottlenecks when you face problems with massive complexity. They hit a wall faster than you might think.
Okay, and I've heard this term, the tyranny of exponential growth. That sounds dramatic. Can you unpack that? Like, what does it mean for classical machines, maybe with an example? It's exactly. The tyranny of exponential growth, it sounds dramatic because it is dramatic, computationally speaking. It describes problems where the number of possibilities or variables just explodes exponentially as the problem gets bigger. For a classical computer, having to check each possibility one by one, these problems become completely intractable, just impossible. Take factoring large numbers, like the 2048-bit numbers securing RSA encryption, the stuff protecting online banking, secure communications. A classical supercomputer, even the best one, would take literally billions of years to factor one of those.
Millions, wow.
Yeah. That difficulty is actually the basis of its security. Or think about simulating molecules for drug discovery, something like penicillin, trying to accurately model all the quantum interactions between its electrons. It's just far, far beyond what even the most powerful supercomputers today can handle. Again, because the number of states grows exponentially.
So it's not just simulations. What about these optimization problems? Finding the best answer out of countless options. Where do classical computers struggle there? Right, optimization is everywhere. So many critical challenges boil down to finding the absolute best solution from this. Just astronomically huge sea of possibilities. Think logistics, optimizing shipping routes for a massive fleet to save fuel, or designing new materials with very specific novel properties. Or even financial modeling, trying to maximize returns while minimizing risk. Classical computers often have to rely on heuristics, basically smart guesswork or approximation algorithms.
So they find a good enough answer.
Exactly. Good enough because searching every single possibility is just totally unfeasible. But good enough isn't always optimal. And in fields like drug design or finance, that gap between good and optimal could mean billions of dollars or even lives.
And underpinning all this classical progress was Moore's law, right? The doubling of transistors. But that seems to be slowing down too. How does that connect to the need for quantum?
Yeah, Moore's law and the observation that transistor density doubles roughly every 2 years, that's been the engine of the digital revolution for decades, no question. But we're hitting fundamental physical limits. Transistors are shrinking down to the size of just a few atoms.
Wow.
And at that scale, quantum effects start messing things up. Things like quantum tunneling, where electrons can sort of jump through barriers they shouldn't. It makes the transistors unreliable. It's kind of ironic, really.
So?
Well, the very quantum physics we're trying to harness for quantum computing are the same physics starting to hinder classical computers.
Hmm.
This sort of impending end of Moore's law isn't just a slowdown. It's a really powerful motivator to explore entirely new ways of computing.
Okay, so classical computing is facing some serious hurdles. To get why quantum is different, we need to dive into quantum mechanics itself. How do these really weird concepts like superposition and entanglement actually change information processing?
Precisely. Those classical limits we just talked about. Quantum mechanics offers potential ways around them, and it starts with the basic unit, the qubit, the quantum bit. Unlike a classical bit, which has to be either 0 or 1, a qubit can be in a superposition. It can be 0, 1, or crucially, a weighted combination of both at the same time.
Both at once, not just uncertain.
Not just uncertain, no. Think of it as embodying all possibilities simultaneously. This lets a qubit hold and process vastly more information. For example, two classical bits. They can represent just one of four states, 0, 0, 0, 1, 10, or 11 at any single moment. But two qubits in superposition, they can represent all four of those states concurrently.
Okay, that's a huge difference.
It is. This ability to explore tons of possibilities at once is a key source of quantum computing's potential power.
That superposition idea is already pretty mind-bending. But then there's entanglement. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. How does that fit into the picture?
Entanglement. Yeah, it's another absolute cornerstone and definitely spooky sounding. When qubits become entangled, their fates are linked, intrinsically connected, no matter how far apart they are physically.
Linked how?
If you measure the state of one entangled qubit, say, you find it's a 0 element, you instantly know the state of its partner, even if it's miles away. It'll be the correlated state, say, 1 in this example. It's not faster than light communication, mind you, but a deep, deep correlation.
Okay.
In a quantum computer, entanglement lets you create these incredibly complex correlated states across many qubits. This web of connections allows quantum algorithms to do things classical computers just can't because their bits are all independent. And there's also quantum interference, which is about manipulating probabilities, cleverly amplifying the chances of getting the right answer while canceling out the wrong ones. It's all part of the toolkit.
So if a classical bit is like a simple light switch, on or off, what's a good way to think about a qubit in contrast?
Okay, the light switch analogy is good for the classical bit, definitely 0 or 1, fixed, a qubit.
Yeah.
Well, it's much richer. It's not just a dimmer switch, which implies something in between. It's more like, imagine a sphere.
A sphere?
Yeah, like the globe. Any point on the surface of that sphere represents a possible state. It could be pointing straight up, representing 0, straight down, representing 1, or anywhere else on the surface, which represents a specific superposition, a unique blend of 0 and 1. So a single qubit holds way more information. But the real magic is the scaling.
How does it scale?
Okay, n classical bits can hold one specific state out of 2 to the power of n possible states at any one time. But n qubits, thanks to superposition and entanglement working together, can represent a superposition of all 2 to the n states simultaneously.
All of them at once?
All of them. Think about it. A quantum computer with just, say, 300 entangled qubits could represent more states than there are atoms in the entire observable universe.
That's hard to even grasp.
It is. This massive inherent parallelism is really its core advantage.
That sounds unbelievably powerful. But you also mentioned fragility. What's this decoherence thing, and why is it such a massive engineering challenge?
You've hit the nail on the head. That power comes at a cost. Extreme fragility. Decoherence is the enemy. It's the process where qubits lose their quantumness, their superposition, their entanglement, because of the slightest interaction with the outside world.
Slightest? Like what?
Oh, anything. A stray magnetic field, a tiny vibration, a microscopic change in temperature, even a single photon bumping into it. This fragility is the #1 engineering headache in building useful quantum computers.
So how do you protect them?
Extreme isolation. Qubits often need to be kept in environments colder than deep space, just fractions of a degree above absolute zero. Massive shielding. And even then, errors creep in. So a huge amount of effort is going into developing quantum error correction codes, sophisticated ways to detect and fix these errors without destroying the quantum information itself. It's incredibly complex.
Okay, let's talk applications. One of the big ones, maybe slightly scary ones, is cryptography. How could a quantum computer actually threaten our current digital security? Is this something we need to worry about now?
It's definitely a critical area to discuss. So much of our digital world banking, secure websites, government communications relies on encryption like RSA. And RSA's strength, as we mentioned, comes from how incredibly hard it is for classical computers to factor large numbers. But back in 1994, a mathematician named Peter Shor came up with a quantum algorithm, Shor's algorithm. And it turns out this algorithm can factor large numbers exponentially faster than any known classical method.
Exponentially faster.
Yes. So a large enough, stable enough quantum computer running Shor's algorithm could, theoretically, break much of the public key cryptography we rely on today.
Okay, that does sound concerning. Is it imminent?
Imminent? Probably not. We're talking about needing fault-tolerant quantum computers with potentially millions of high-quality qubits to break current RSA keys.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. It's likely years, maybe decades away. But it's not science fiction. It's a known future threat. And that's why researchers are already working very hard on post-quantum cryptography. New encryption methods resistant to both classical and quantum attacks. We need to be prepared.
So quantum computing creates a threat, but can quantum mechanics also offer a solution for secure communication?
Absolutely. It's a fascinating duality. Quantum key distribution, or QKD, uses quantum principles to create fundamentally secure communication. The core idea relies on the fact that observing a quantum system inevitably disturbs it.
Okay.
So if two parties are exchanging a quantum key and an eavesdropper tries to listen in, their very act of listening disturbs the quantum state. This disturbance can be detected, immediately alerting the legitimate users that someone is trying to intercept the key. It offers a type of security guaranteed by the laws of physics, which is fundamentally different from classical methods that rely on computational difficulty.
Interesting. Beyond breaking and making codes, what about other transformative areas, like chemistry or discovering new materials?
Yeah, simulating molecules and materials is arguably one of the most promising sort of near-term applications because nature is quantum mechanical at that level. Classical computers really struggle simulating quantum behavior accurately, especially for complex systems, because of that exponential scaling issue again. Quantum computers, though, are inherently quantum. They can, in principle, simulate these systems directly, acting like a kind of quantum mimic.
What could that lead to?
Really exciting possibilities. Drug discovery, for instance. Imagine being able to accurately simulate how a potential drug molecule interacts with a specific protein target in the body. That could dramatically speed up the incredibly long and expensive drug development pipeline, leading to more effective, maybe even personalized, medicines much faster.
And material.
Same idea. Designing new materials from the ground up. Things like high-temperature superconductors, materials that conduct electricity with zero resistance at much higher temperatures than currently possible, that could revolutionize energy grids. Or better catalysts for industrial processes, making manufacturing more efficient and less polluting. Or designing more efficient solar cells, stronger alloys for planes and cars. The list goes on. It's about understanding and designing matter at its most fundamental level.
We hear this term quantum supremacy or quantum advantage. What does that actually mean? Is it about solving useful problems yet?
Good question. Quantum supremacy, or the term people often prefer now, quantum advantage, refers to a specific milestone. It's the point where a programmable quantum computer performs a specific task, any task, really, that no classical computer, even the biggest supercomputer, could realistically do in a reasonable time frame.
So it's a benchmark.
Exactly. It's primarily a scientific demonstration. Proof that these machines can outperform classical ones on some problems. It doesn't necessarily mean the problem itself is useful day to day. Google's Sycamore processor demonstration back in 2019 was a big example. They claimed it did a specific calculation in about 200 seconds that would take the world's best supercomputer, while they estimated 10,000 years.
Wow. Even if the numbers are debated.
Right. Even with debates about the exact classical time, it was a landmark. It showed these devices operating at a scale and complexity where classical simulation becomes essentially impossible. It taught us a lot about how these noisy systems behave. And other groups, like teams in China, have also achieved similar demonstrations, showing the field is moving fast.
And this ties into the NISQ era. What does that stand for, and what's the main focus now, given these machines are still noisy?
Yes, NISQ. It stands for Noisy Intermediate Scale Quantum, and it perfectly captures where we are right now. Intermediate scale means we have quantum computers with tens to maybe a few hundred qubits, not millions yet. And noisy means they're highly susceptible to errors from decoherence and imperfect control. They're not fault-tolerant.
So what's the research focus in this NISQ era?
It's really multi-pronged. First, improving the quality of the individual qubits, making them less noisy, more stable. Second, developing better quantum error correction techniques to manage the noise we can't eliminate. And third, figuring out how to actually scale these systems up, connecting more and more high-quality qubits together reliably. There's also a lot of work on developing algorithms that might provide some advantage even on these noisy, smaller NISQ devices. Places like Canada actually are really investing heavily in this with their national quantum strategy and research hubs like the Institute for Quantum Computing at Waterloo. It's a global race.
So wrapping this up, looking ahead, what's the ultimate dream here? What's the big promise of quantum computing, and what are the biggest mountains still to climb?
The ultimate promise. It's really about unlocking a new era of computation, tackling problems that are just completely beyond humanity's reach today. Problems we might not even conceive of yet. It spans everything from understanding the fundamental workings of the universe, like simulating quantum gravity, to incredibly practical things, like optimizing global logistics or discovering revolutionary medicines and materials. Basically, solving problems where that exponential complexity is the bottleneck for classical machines.
But the hurdles are still significant.
Oh, absolutely. We shouldn't underestimate the challenges. That extreme fragility of quantum states decoherence is a monster of a problem. And the sheer engineering complexity of building and controlling large-scale, fault-tolerant quantum computers is immense. We need breakthroughs in physics, materials science, computer engineering, everything. But, the journey has well and truly begun. The progress in just the last decade has been astounding. The coming years are going to be incredibly exciting, full of discovery and innovation in this quantum realm. It's really about fundamentally enhancing our ability to model and interact with the world.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive into, a truly revolutionary frontier. It really feels like we're right on the edge of a completely new age for computation, where things we thought were impossible might just become possible. We really hope this discussion has given you some valuable insights, maybe a few aha moments, helping cut through some of the hype and get to the core of what's going on in this super fast-moving field. So maybe as you go about your day, think about this. What's an unsolvable problem in your world, in your field, that maybe, just maybe, a quantum computer could crack open someday?
Yeah, and connecting that to the bigger picture, it's not just about speed. It's about a fundamental shift in our ability to understand and potentially manipulate reality at its most basic level, which raises a really important question for all of us, doesn't it? How do we, as individuals and as a society, adapt our thinking, our innovation, our ethics to really leverage this incredible power responsibly when it fully arrives?
That's a great final thought. And that's all the time we have for this deep dive. But thank you so much for exploring this truly fascinating topic with us. If you found this valuable, and we hope you did, please be sure to subscribe to our channel, Tech, AI, and Beyond, wherever you get your deep dives. That way you won't miss out on our next exploration. Thanks for listening.